Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet SkyFF, the world where everything revolves around £50,000. My name's Serge.
And my name is James.
Do we need to change the intro to the pod, James? Is there no longer 50? The world doesn't revolve around £50,000
or something.
Yeah, another difficult week in Sky, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't checked my points mainly because it started badly with JWP not returning. Rudiger captain on Saturday. I know, like Diaz and plenty of people Havertz and co outscored him.
Cancelo.
Yeah, true. That 40 was it 44? I think he got as captain. 22 points, doubled up.
More maybe even, but yeah, that sounds about right.
A lot. And so that didn't work out particularly well. And I own Robert Sanchez in goal.
Nice.
So I've just logged in, James. I scored 65 points with returns from Ben White, Diaz, Rudiger. Ben White was captain. Sorry. No, why would Ben White be captain? He wasn't captain.
No.
He got a passing tier. Ben White got a passing tier.
I know,
too.
Yeah. him and Gabriel.
And Rafinha and Havertz. And that's it. No other returns.
You must have captained Salah Sunday, yeah.
Salah's assist. And that was it. Very bad week, I think.
Yeah, I guess for myself, I mean, technically
my rank hasn't been affected. I'm still 10k, but I'm basically 10k. I've been 10k for about.
Can I tell you the sad bit about me? I think where I'm at the moment is I don't know if my score this week is a green or a red arrow. I genuinely don't know. I can't.
Listen back to last week's pod. You might remember your rank.
Yeah. I think it might be a small green. I got 76. I'm really not sure.
Okay.
I'm at 2,771. 76, but I mean that includes 2 transfers for me, right? So Emi Martinez captaincy on the Friday night, which was fine because I really wasn't expecting a clean sheet. We spoke in the week how much we fancied Southampton to win that game. So I'll take the little save tier he had for 4-pointer ×2 for the 8. Saturday, I captained Rudiger like you, and I think a lot of other people. Many congrats to those who not only own Cancelo, but took the plunge and went there. You're right, 44 points for the captaincy there. So I went with Rudiger. I'll be honest with you, considering I only own one Chelsea player, I'm not that disappointed that he conceded the goal because there were treble ups and quadruple ups out there and stuff. I captained Salah on Sunday as well. My returnees this week were Conor Gallagher, Ruben Diaz, Rafinha. One more, Kai Havertz.
Okay.
So Saturday, I sold Martinez for Alvaro Fernandez. Was kind of hoping I was going to walk straight into a 9-pointer there. Obviously, 5 minutes in, that's out the window. That's great.
Yeah.
Norwich have scored a goal. Brilliant. So he did pick up a save tier, Alvaro Fernandez, but I don't take that as a positive that he's picking up a save tier at home to Norwich, to be very honest with you. And I sold Havertz on Saturday for Mr. Harold of Kane. I guess in hindsight, I probably should have waited another week now, but yeah, I felt I couldn't particularly go without it. So Kane's in, Fernandez is in. I got one more move planned next week, next Sunday, which Cancelo is the one. I mean, the difference in the fact that I gambled with Laporte rather than Cancelo right at the kind of start of this decision-making process on the overhaul has been a major difference maker for me. And the couple of differentials I've gone with, it's just not worked for me. So Cancelo was always part of the plan to get in next Sunday anyway. Obviously, wish I'd gone in early and done the unsky thing and just bought him because I wanted to, but no, I'll wait for the Sunday, obviously, for the fixture against Leeds. As long as he's in the team, I'll be buying him in for Antonio.
There's still plenty of time to obviously claw back some of this deficit. That it feels like we're, I don't know, pushing a barrel up a hill, but there still is time to claw it back. So, you just need to pick up kind of 1 or 2 good differentials who pop off as captain, and before you know it, you can close a 30-40 point gap like we saw with Cancelo. So we just got to chin up and try and look for the next opportunities now.
Basically that, yeah. There's not a lot of choice.
Yeah.
Not a lot of choice. It's difficult when you've got someone like Salah who you kind of feel like you've got to captain. It's kind of knocking out so many captaincy days, isn't it? In terms of the trying to make up ground. I guess Sunday the 21st is quite debatable because, I mean, my plan always going into the week would have been to go Kane. You look at it on the surface now and think, right, Kane's ownership top thousands, 42%. And I don't doubt for a second that will increase. Cancelo's is, I forget, but it's more. I'll get him up in a second. Cancelo's ownership, it is, I will tell you, 72% in the top 1,000. And you think, just captain Cancelo. So I guess a lot of people are going to be put off the idea of going for Kane, aren't they? Because of his form.
Yeah.
And Tottenham's form as well, which is understandable. But I think both
well,
players
with the lack of
will
shots,
see an increase in ownership.
There's no tier points with Kane, is there? Because you're not taking any shots at the moment.
No, of course not. But then from a Sky perspective, one of the best teams you can play is Leeds.
Yeah, it's true.
So, but I would look at City at home to Everton and think they'll have real territorial advantage. So they'll have possession in the high attacking phases of the play. And if Cancelo plays in this particular fixture, he's a certainty for passing tier. Everton are woeful. I got to see him firsthand last week. There's nothing in them at the moment till they get sort of Mina, Decore, Calvert-Lewin back. Cancelo looks like a locked on 10 points. Then he got the potential of him doing what he did at Old Trafford. Couple of assists, shot tier, tackle tier, man of the match. And then it's a haul, isn't it? So I think at the moment, I'd look at it and go, Cancelo's ceiling is far higher than Harry Kane's, ironically, in that particular fixture. So I'll probably captain Cancelo. If he's not in the team, I'll just stick it on Kane and work the plan backwards for Cancelo.
We had some fixtures for January all the way through to the end. It didn't particularly throw up any major issues. Perhaps Watford Norwich, and obviously the other one that's awkward is Brighton Palace.
Well, Brighton Palace isn't actually awkward.
It
looks
really.
awkward, but it's not.
But a lot of people may have got to Adam Webster, he's back in the team by then. You're already sitting on a Conor Gallagher. So Brighton Palace, I didn't see as I need to solve that problem. I've got Sanchez right now. I can't see myself keeping him until then just for the captaincy coverage, but I do have a player right now. Watford Norwich, however, feels like a very easy skip.
Yeah, it probably will be. Just to cover off potential entry points for those two single game days. So Brighton against Palace is Friday the 14th and Watford against Norwich is Friday the 21st. I mean, as you know me, Serge, I'm so thrilled to have two Friday deadlines in a row. Yay, great. Couldn't we've had one of them on the Monday. It is worth saying in the case of Watford Norwich as well, there is so little point planning for it because if either of them have a draw in the FA Cup third round, and have a replay, the Friday fixture will move.
Right, okay.
It's likely to move back to the Saturday or the Sunday. In which case, there's no point. I mean, from a Watford perspective and Norwich perspective, you could go on the Saturday before. So in Watford's case, we've got Newcastle away and Norwich home. Now, we think, obviously, after this set of fixtures is probably when the overhaul is going to be. Do you get say Ismail Assar for Norwich, Newcastle away, Norwich at home with a captaincy, effective 3-for-1 over someone? It might be one when it lands that you look at it and go, yes, sorry, I've got an injury. I'll take the effective 3 games, for example. Norwich, you'd have to do similarly. You'd have to go in the same time, Everton at home, Watford away. But I think if we had to make that decision now, we look at someone like Sarr, wouldn't we, and go, okay, explosiveness may be there. I think for just that, like I've spoken about Kucha last couple of weeks, who obviously got suspended on Sunday. Sorry, guys, if you bought him. But I still think he's a reasonable get because it's that bite in him that actually gets him the tackle tiers. You wouldn't consider someone buying like Kucha for that. You'd have to buy the explosive player in Sarr. Anyway, it might be immaterial. And the good news, if you do want to go to Saturday before, obviously the FA Cup third round's the weekend before. So you'll know if you definitely don't need it. But I think, it's a skip. In the case of Brighton Palace, what's interesting about it is there aren't many good entry points. And arguably, if you don't have the coverage, and you will definitely want some coverage for that one particularly, I think because of Gallagher's ownership, obviously, Most people were sitting on there, might have been thinking coming off after the Leeds fixture on Tuesday the 30th of November. I don't think you do now, and their fixtures are all right anyway. And in the case of Brighton, there'll be so many people who've got like Sanchez, like yourself, obviously Lewis Dunk, Leandro Trossard starting to step up as a potential differential in the midfield area. Adam Webster, he's going to get back in that team, and he's going to be a go-to for so many people. But actually, the entry point for both teams is arguably Sunday, the 12th of December. So, I mean, that short period between Gallagher at November the 30th at Leeds, there is a 3-for-1 there if you can find them, where you'd only miss Gallagher away to Manchester United, and then actually you'd go back when they're at home to Everton on Sunday the 12th. Similarly for Brighton, there aren't entry points before Sunday the 12th when they host Tottenham, unless you're covering for an injury. You'll definitely want some Brighton Palace, though. Sky can't help it, can they? Every fucking time, Monday Night Football. Well, it's a Friday this time.
Yeah, Brighton Palace.
It always seems to be a night game as well. It's never like the Sunday 4:30.
No, you're right.
Two teams who hate each other and want to fight each other, and they always put them on a night game. Slightly strange.
Yeah, it's crazy. There's no point in us looking at captaincy for the next weekend, really, because obviously a lot can happen in the international break with injuries, and we'll be back recording next week prior to the next set of fixtures. But yeah, so we've just got to keep our eyes and ears on what happens with the international break, because you may end up with a few flags that need fixing.
The only thing, obviously, to add on, just briefly, I kind of discussed Man City versus Tottenham for Sunday the 21st in terms of captaincy. Saturday the 20th, if you've got the right player, there is a case to go against Salah. It's a rare one. If you've got Ronaldo away to Watford, you've got to consider it, haven't you? I think.
Yeah, definitely.
But his ownership is low enough at the moment, and most people won't go there till Thursday the 2nd or Sunday the 5th. He's probably, even in that case, he's probably not worth it. Like, if Ronaldo returns well, it'll be great for you. You don't need to put the armband on it. Salah home to Arsenal is still all right, isn't it? I mean, Salah at home, it just sounds like enough at the moment to put the armband on him.
He does. Do you want to look at some of these questions that we've had in on Twitter, James? Because I think they will cover off the majority of the talking points at the moment.
Yeah, shall do. And we'll take a deeper dive into some statistical stuff next week.
Good. So Sam SkyFF says, should he hold Kane? I think that's a pretty obvious yes, isn't it now?
I'd seen this idea being floated about, getting rid of him. I mean, if he was...
the fixtures coming up.
If people... It's true what people are saying, like, he's 40% owned in the top 1,000, and he's there's like 30 strikers have got more than him, or it's something ridiculous, right? But I think, yeah, there's no, you're there. Like, I've just bought him, and I didn't buy him for Everton away specifically, really. I made a judgment call that I thought Kane at Everton would potentially outscore Havertz, who may not even start at Leicester, was my decision. Well aware that could be a 2 and a 1, for example. But it's definitely for the 4 fixtures coming up. Definitely.
Yeah.
And actually, when you look at the other ones, and I think if we're looking at it from a captaincy perspective, it's tough to kind of say at the moment, but looking beyond the Leeds one, I think it's close, and I think I'll go Cancelo as it stands at the moment. The following week, Sunday the 28th, there's more choices. Like, arguably, Vardy at home to Watford is possibly the best choice. City have West Ham at home. Now, that's another one where actually, if Cancelo was to play, and you will get the team again, high attacking phases of passing tiers. I think he's highest for passes in the final third or something this season. It's ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
So because Everton and West Ham are two teams who are very happy to sit off, they will have, obviously City naturally will have high possession numbers, but they'll actually have them in the attacking phase of play as well. Yeah. And West Ham will just kind of narrow the pitch and force them backwards a lot. So Cancelo would look a lock on for the passing tiers on that as well, but you'd far less confident the clean sheets to go with it.
Yeah.
But I think on that one, with Kane away to Burnley, he probably is Man City again. So now you're going, right, is it worth going with Captain Kane at any point? Well, I think on Thursday the 2nd, at home to Brentford, when Manchester United play Arsenal, yes. And I think on Sunday the 5th, when Kane's at home to Norwich, and the alternative really is probably Ronaldo at home to Palace, it's Kane again. So he's going to come, and as much as it at the moment looks like it's not there about getting rid, if Kane does do okay in the next two, you'll be hiding behind the sofa for the Brentford and Norwich fixtures because he will be big captains in those 2 game days, I'm fairly certain.
Fitz wants to know who the best replacement for Youri Tielemans is. I'm not sure why. There's no context here, James. I'm not sure.
Oh, have you not heard the news? No?
Oh, no. Did he hurt himself?
So, yeah, he's got an injury. We don't know the extent of that yesterday, but Sam Martin on Twitter is obviously very clued up with Leicester, said he's been spotted on crutches, likely to be at least 3 weeks. I think that's at least is probably a fair assessment if he's on crutches. You can never be too sure because sometimes these things are obviously very precautionary for footballers. We've seen people walking out of stadiums with the old boots on and they played like 4 or 5 days later.
Yeah.
But it does sound like, and you should obviously wait for the news, he might be out for a while. Plus the fact they're playing Chelsea does kind of lead you the excuse to think you're coming off. And there are entry points back into him if you want to. I would say it's Watford at home Sunday the 28th. Judging by what Sam tweeted last night, he's very unlikely to make that. And I feel like you'd feel sick to miss that fixture. So there's enough there where even if he's back for Southampton away Wednesday the 1st, which has got to be unlikely as well, then it's Villa away Sunday the 5th, Newcastle at home Sunday 12th, and then there's rough fixtures. So you can make a case, if he's not going to be back till the first couple of weeks of December, you actually come off and you are staying off completely, especially if the overhaul does land at the end of match week 23. They have a couple of good last fixtures, Leicester, Norwich, Burnley, Brighton. We've got City, Tottenham, Everton, City, Liverpool in a row in mid to late December as well. So there's a case to say you could do without. Not that Tielemans is a player who's particularly affected by fixtures. You know, we've seen him scoring in the big games. If he stands out, he's got a chance of man of the match in these games and stuff as well. But I think, yeah, he'd be moving it on. In terms of where you'd go, Rafinha and Gallagher are the 2 most obvious ones if you don't have the coverage. Part of the reason for saying that as well is they'll play 3 games before Leicester play their 3rd as well. So if he is back quicker than expected, you can obviously go back. But I think they're the 2 obvious ones, Rafinha, Gallagher, and then Smith-Rowe. If you haven't got the coverage for the Monday the 6th, when Arsenal travel to Everton, he doesn't feel like the right entry point Liverpool away, but I think you just go, okay, look, I'll take my 2 points or whatever I get here as a bonus. Then you've still got Newcastle at home, United away, then the captaincy Everton, Southampton at home, and then some good fixtures. So those would be my favoured 3 if you've got none of them. If you're sitting there with all 3 of them, Jared Bowen's not a bad shout. Although the fixtures are rough, his underlying numbers are really good, and he is right creeping up the numbers. I see, so he's only a couple of points behind Antonio now. In terms of points in Sky Fantasy.
That's incredible.
I mean, he's a good one for shot tiers and stuff as well, actually.
Jared definitely likes a shot coming inside, for sure.
Declan Rice, if you want to come down with the money.
He's been mentioned in the Twitter questions quite a bit.
We're not overlooking him anymore. I did already mention one differential name is Trossard, who is playing false 9 at the moment. Generally, as a rule of thumb, I would not want a Brighton attacking player because someone like Dunk is such a lock-on most often for the passing tiers and stuff. That's a differential name for you to consider. Even Ndidi's back for Leicester. And Højbjerg. If you look at Højbjerg's numbers, going back to, I think, the defeat at Arsenal, he's hit something in every game. The only game he didn't hit a pass or a tackle tier was when he scored against Villa. So he scored instead. And I think with Conte in charge, we can expect to see... Bless you, Suj.
Well, this is a carryover from Patreon now.
Yeah.
The patrons will know.
Suj is ill and we are recording remotely, thank God.
Yeah.
Højbjerg, I think passing tiers are going to slowly come back. If you take the fixture against Leeds, for example, which is obviously Tottenham's next, passing tier, no. No one gets passing tier against Leeds. I think Joel Matip's that game when who got sent off, was it Pascal Struijk when Leeds played Liverpool? Joel Matip's the only player to hit passing tier against Leeds this season. So you wouldn't expect Højbjerg to get a passing tier against Leeds. Might get a tackle tier though. He's most tackles won in the league now. And the 3 games afterwards, Burnley, Brentford and Norwich, I would say are all passing tier games for him. And he's probably a lock in the team at the moment. Oliver Skip's suspended against Leeds. He's an absolute certainty to play that game. Skip's got 5 bookings.
Dan's asking if there's any love for Bernardo Silva. Does he fit into an alternative? He's ticking over, started every game since the opening day of the season.
Bit pricey, I think.
Yeah, too expensive for you.
I think so. I'd rather, most of the ones I think you'd really want to consider is come down in the money, I think. Remember as well, most people are in a position where they're looking for Ronaldo money. So I think in most cases come down. At Højbjerg, particularly if you don't want to go near Kane, he's not a bad bit of coverage actually. He's unlikely. He's unlikely to pull off the Declan Rice kind of 18-pointer or something. But in terms of like consistent fives, yeah, I think that's probably coming back for him actually.
Dragos wants to know if we should consider having all 3, Salah, Ronaldo, and Kane for December, or just have the 3 transfers between Salah and Ronaldo. Well, there was a hop on, hop off, hop on, wasn't there?
Yeah, you can do it either way. I've decided I'm going to go down the route of just have all 3 of them throughout.
Okay.
That's where I'm at. And listen, one of them will probably get injured and that plan will change, right?
Yeah.
You know how it works. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Obviously, there is the hop on or hop off where you will miss Salah at home to Aston Villa on Saturday the 11th, and you would miss Ronaldo at home to Brighton on Saturday the 18th. They're both December respectively. And you just hop on, hop off them. And those are the only 2 fixtures you'd miss. Obviously, using more transfers on that as well, which you have to bear in mind. So what's the value of the transfer if you're hopping? Well, in this case, you're captaining them most of the time. Although I would say, in the case of buying Ronaldo, and it's still the right thing to do, I think, to buy him Thursday the 2nd or Sunday the 5th. I would favour Kane on both of those 2 dates, Thursday the 2nd, Sunday the 5th. Saturday the 11th, Ronaldo goes to Norwich. But it'd still be difficult to look beyond Salah at home to Villa. In fact, at the moment, I still go Salah, even though Ronaldo would have Norwich. And then Tuesday the 14th, Ronaldo's got Brentford away. But City play that night at home to Leeds. So there's alternatives. Saturday the 18th is the one where it really looks like Ronaldo. Or there's West Ham alternatives at home to Norwich. And ironically, on the hop on, hop off, that's the one you're going to miss. So think there is a case to say you could fight against Ronaldo all the way up to Monday the 27th, which is the first of the single game days when they travel to Newcastle. There is a case to completely fight against it. And you could make a case, as long as the African nations go ahead, that's a good time to come off Salah. So Salah has Leeds at home Boxing Day, and you'll get to see the team for that, which you won't for any of the other games on Boxing Day. So that's useful. Home to Leeds, fine. Stick the armband on him. Then it's Leicester away, Chelsea away, and the African Cup of Nations. So there is a case to say no Ronaldo at all, because you're going to fight with other people in the captaincy anyway, and just go Salah to Ronaldo Monday the 27th of December, and then you'll know Salah.
Well, Joe wants to know who he should sell to get Ronaldo in a few weeks, Diaz or Van Dijk. So you've just said don't get Ronaldo. Who should he get?
No, I'm getting him.
Yeah.
I'm getting Ronaldo. I'm just saying there is a case to fight against it. I would always rather have that position as well where the player is set in case our opinions can change, right? I mean, if Ronaldo goes mental against Arsenal and Palace and then that Norwich game comes around and suddenly Salah's lost a bit of form, it's going to be difficult to look against Ronaldo away to Norwich, right?
Yeah.
Plus, we don't know. Norwich and Villa both got new managers. It's very difficult to say at this stage what they're going to be like. Villa might go super defensive. Who knows? Maybe Norwich will as well. Maybe Sam Allardyce will take over Norwich and it might not be quite so attractive. I don't suppose he'll get the Villa job. He won't get the Norwich job either, by the way. In terms of selling Van Dijk or Diaz, Van Dijk for me.
Kermit the Winger wants to know, it's a question for me. How will the Ogbonna injury affect West Ham? Less clean sheets? Well, yes. But we have 2 centre-backs in Diop and Dawson that can slot in. And I think both Diop and Dawson will be better for playing alongside Zuma, who is doing particularly well. So, yes, of course, would I rather have Oggy than the other 2? But
Oggy.
I don't think it's as big a drop-off as it could potentially happen.
You know what price Ben Johnson is?
No.
It's 5.8.
Wow. Wow. He feels really locked at the moment.
It's another one where West Ham fixture-wise, it's not great, let's be honest. The next few, Wolves, City, Brighton, Chelsea. But he is one that, I don't know, say you're sitting there with Tielemans, and you've got 4 in midfield. Say you're sitting there with 3-4-3 for whatever reason. Like me and you had been sitting there with 5 midfielders somehow. Someone will be sitting there with 4 in midfield and Tielemans. Johnson, would you consider that? Because then that probably makes the move of getting, but it probably makes the move of getting Ronaldo quite straightforward.
I just, at any moment, Sufal could come back in, especially against the likes of Man
That ain't what you've been
City
saying on the
and
FPL
Chelsea.
pod. You told everyone to buy him.
Well, that's because he can sit as a sub, mate.
That's because you don't care about FPL.
Million.
That's why.
You get 15 players in that game, and you only get 11 in this, which is a real big kind of
very
difference,
true.
right? Ben Johnson and FPL is bench fodder at 3.9 mid or 4 now, not necessarily in this game. We have a number of Kane-related questions, James. We've covered Kane quite a bit. So I'm going to summarize them quite straightforward. Dragos is like, why is Kane still in my team when there's so many players with more points? It's a decision you got to make, mate. Fitz was going to go to get Kane on Sunday the 21st and then Bomo on the 2nd to cover the single game days. He's actually thinking of turning it on its head, and the Spurs asset being Højbjerg and the Brentford asset being Tony, because Kane is not impressing.
So let me get this right. Tony's putting up trees, is he? Or
I don't like that idea. I don't particularly like that idea, mainly because the ownership on Kane is going to be so high. You're going with lower owned. If you're really chasing and you want differentials, then fine, but no.
I will say what I always say in terms of not doubting Harry, and I'm pretty sure Harry will return well in these 4 games that are coming up.
FF Thinker wants to know, with Gallagher and Rafinha nailed, who is the best third midfielder to enable a solid defence with the threemium up top? And he's given 4 options: Rice, Smith-Rowe, Højbjerg, Norgard. Budget's time.
Norgard's really interesting. When I spoke about him as one of the kind of, like, if you go in Buemo, you can come right down to him at 6.2. You know what's interesting about him? He goes in the box for like the corners and the long throws and stuff. Okay. And he does hit the odd shots here, bizarrely, because of that, mainly because he's a target from long throws. So I don't mind Norgard as a shout. Smith-Rowe for me is the one I've got in mind.
I think so as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
DB, do you like the sound of VVD to Gahey to fund the premium up top?
VVD to who?
Gahey, the Crystal Palace centre back.
Oh, Gahey.
That's how you pronounce it.
I think the reason we've not spoke about Palace defensive so much, because they're doing well, right? Gahey and Anderson are really picking up passing tiers and stuff. We spoke the other week. Joel Ward was like 100 passes in a game or so, 92, I think it was. Astonishing, more than he normally put together in a month for Palace under Roy Hodgson. Because of Gallagher, we've never spoken about it much. But in terms of budget value, yeah, they can be considered. Their fixtures are decent for a while as well. Ironically as well, actually, in that case of Watford-Norwich, of course, if that game does happen, you do want to get the 3-for-1. It's got to be a Brighton or Palace player you come off. And Gallagher, the game you'd miss of Gallagher's Liverpool at home. So there might be a case for it as and when it comes round, possibly. But I think that's why we've not spoke about him. Anderson and Gahey are both very reasonable to get, but you would find it difficult to put the armband on them ahead of Gallagher as and when you need it at the moment. Just take a sit back and go, yeah, do you know what? They've been doing really, really well. Is the way forward to Crystal Palace players in your Sky Fantasy football team. And it's not hurting you elsewhere because not many are on it. Now, of course, it can be a good differential for you. And I don't mind it. If someone wants to buy either of them, don't mind it. I would have no preference between the two. I don't even know if there's a price difference between them.
We've got another. I'm not sure either. To be honest.
I'll have a quick look. I'd tell you. It would help if Sky listed Crystal Palace with a C rather than a P. I mean, isn't that just the most frustrating thing?
Gahey's what they call them, Eagles.
Gahey's 53 points. Anderson 46. Gahey is 0.1 cheaper. And I just think on that, you would probably go Gay. Anderson's ownership top 1,000 is 0.1%, Gay 0.7%. And the reason that is so low is because of Conor Gallagher.
Yeah. Or Bruno has got another Kane dilemma of Kane. It's this Kane Højbjerg dilemma, really. He's got no Spurs. He has Antonio and Havertz. The original plan was Havertz to dunk, Antonio to Kane, but the attack seeming blunt would Havertz to Ronaldo and Antonio to Højbjerg make more sense. Original plan, Diaz to Ronaldo on the 2nd of December.
Can I tell you, Suj, if something happened to Mo Salah on Saturday the 20th, I will buy Kane and Son.
Okay.
I'd still want to buy Kane and Son. I just cannot work Heung-min Son into my system. Doesn't work for me. But if something like that happened, I'm going to get him. Going to get Heung-min Son. And I wouldn't think twice about it. I'll take Kane and Son for them 4 games and deal with the consequences at the end. Does that kind of sum it up? The 4 fixtures are too good. And there's a couple of things that can provide form into players, right? One is they find it, which at the moment, and it's not just Kane, right? Son's playing badly as well. They find it themselves. The manager is going to lift. I mean, the atmosphere in the stadium is going to be very different for that Leeds home game with Antonio Conte in charge compared to what it has been. And fixtures can bring form. And those 4 fixtures are great.
Steve-O says, for those looking to move Sarr, the goalkeeper at Wolves, as opposed to the winger at Watford do we go with A, Mendy, B, Ramsdale, or C, someone else going into the festive season? Chelsea's fixtures look good. Just worried about rotation with Kepa. He does like to chuck him in for a game or two. There's Thomas Tuchel.
Can I give a suggestion? What price is Jose Sarr? I mean, I'm going to say 6.7. Yes, he is. It depends on funds, but a name to consider, and someone is going to laugh at this, David De Gea at 7.2. And the reason I say David De Gea is Wolves have obviously got West Ham at home, Norwich away, Burnley at home. Now, you don't really, having got the keeper, you don't really want to sell before then. Now, after that, it's Liverpool at home, City away. So ideally, in terms of the break of good and bad fixtures, that's when you want to move. Now, if you hold for the Liverpool game, you've got more choices of keepers. But Thursday the 2nd, you can move to De Gea, and it's the start of United's run of fixtures, Arsenal at home, Palace at home, the whole thing we've been over Ronaldo. And you might want that secondary little coverage for the inevitable single game day where Ronaldo doesn't start. Because I'm pretty sure there will be one over the Christmas period where he's not going to start. It's fairly obvious. I imagine at a guess that's probably most likely to be Burnley at home. So, I mean, I've got it in my mind to have a second United players around that time. I mean, my structure is probably to have Bruno Fernandes go with it actually and just slam it, as long as Salah's going to the African nations. But De Gea might be one to consider. And of course, on that day as well, you could also buy Alvaro Fernandez at 6 million. And then it's only that they've gone and got, he'll have an effective 4-for-1 with Tottenham away, Leeds away, and then the captaincy against Watford if you've got no coverage for that. And then you can either chain it on, or I think, to be honest, you probably keep it. Like, I'm not looking at him and expecting anything from him, but he's 6 million goalkeeper. Fuck it, he can stay there now. Ramsdale's very reasonable to get as well. And who was the other one? Gator. Gator's reasonable as well.
I suggested Gator. He was looking at Mendy, obviously.
I think for me personally, the 2 keepers really you want to have at the moment are either Mendy or Fernandes. Fernandes to open you up for the money for other areas, or Mendy because he's obviously such a powerful player. But also bear in mind, every week that passes without it, so I don't think you should move off Sarr till Thursday the 2nd at the earliest, really. By that stage, you've only got Chelsea's fixtures of another 6 or 7. And that if he goes to the African nations, which obviously we don't know if it's going to happen or not at the moment, then I think by that point, Mendy is not the right player to get. You should look at someone else who's going to get you sort of 10 fixtures or so and possibly a captaincy in there as well.
What's your thoughts on the Chelsea defence? Because FPL Parking the Bus says, how expendable is it? I can't see too many times they'll be captained in the near future, and they could be the cash cows for Ronaldo and co, for example.
I think at the moment, I wouldn't want to move Rudiger. I wouldn't want to move James. I wouldn't want to move Chilwell. I wouldn't want to move Thiago Silva. Christensen, I'd be iffy about, but he's cheap as 8.3. Azpilicueta is beginning to look like maybe it should get moved on. So, I mean, I think like if you can go Azpi to Cancelo or whoever starts out of Stones Diaz on Sunday the 21st, I think you should probably consider that. Otherwise, I wouldn't fear Chelsea in terms of all fixtures are tougher. Are they? Actually, you look through, run through Leicester away, United at home, of course. They're not easy fixtures. And then there's West Ham away a couple after that as well. We're talking about the European champions here. I don't think they're going to be particularly phased. Defensively, they're rock solid, aren't they? And that so passing tiers so often for the likes of Rudiger and that. Chilwell and James are having for very different reasons at the moment. I mean, monster potential attacking output. I think Chilwell's probably too expensive for this game. James probably more of an option in Sky Fantasy. I wouldn't fret about it if you've got, and there's loads of exit points as well. So you could exit them, as I said, Sunday the 21st, go to City for a bit. You can come off Wednesday the 1st if you want to get sort of a spare United coverage, if you're brave enough at that stage. Saturday the 4th, you've got more choices to come off after West Ham. There's loads of exit points from Chelsea as well. I wouldn't fret about it. I wouldn't go chasing those points now as well. For me, like the amazing fixtures where it really looked like there'd be a run of clean sheets, and there has been 4 out of 5 is gone. But I don't think it means you have to come off the assets.
I mean, Jones, what do you think is a reasonable amount of transfers to have left at Christmas if you're around the 200 or 300 rank? 30, 27, 30?
Well, let's say, I mean, Christmas is basically exactly halfway the season. So if you kind of work on a basis of 1 transfer a week, you kind of, in theory, you're reasonable if you're down to sort of 20, 21 left. I suspect people are going to be on more than that. I think my plan at the moment's got me at about 26 left, roughly. I think most people are going to be in and around that area. That's subject to obviously injuries, of course. Somewhere between, I think, 23, 26, I think is where most people will probably be at that point. And then obviously, I think once you get into the new year, if it's only going to be 3 game weeks left, you don't really want to be making anymore. Then you're going into the overhaul with maybe 25 left or so. So don't fear the potential to make ground now. If you want to use some transfers, use them. It's okay to go into that overhaul with 19 left, I think.
FPL Handbone has 3 quick questions, James, and then we'll end with Andy Cairns' question today. Firstly, if Brentford keep losing, will they change their keeper? Is there any risk to Fernandes?
No, I don't think so. Like, he's been in a Spain squad and stuff. So, like, I think coming into Burnley away was a difficult game for him to start off with. Didn't look great, bit hesitant on a few crosses. They've not been helped by a few injuries at the back recently, like some Pinnock, Ajer, and Zanka's now injured as well. They've had some knocks back in that area. But no, I don't think so. And in any case, even if he is, he's 5.8, the other one. Go to him instead.
He wants to know if Mboma was a bad choice considering the lack of tiers. Rice is nice.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, I'm on it now and I'm not going anywhere till after that Watford fixture. But yeah, there's still a case to take a gamble on it Sunday the 28th. Everton away, because Everton at home, sorry, because Everton at home, Tottenham away, Leeds away, then captaincy against Watford if you've got no coverage. You're still getting effective 5 versus 2 on a lot. And you'll potentially, again, you might be moving the budget that allows you Ronaldo, for example. So the fact they've got Newcastle away this week, I mean, talking about Tielemans replacements, I wouldn't go him now. But in certain, I think it's easy for me to say I wouldn't go there because I've been sitting there owning him and he's doing nothing for me. I think I agree, Serge. Regretfully, in hindsight, when you go for players who tend not to hit tiers in this game, it does not work. But I think a lot of us got in he's OOP and he's 7.2 midfielder, which is understandable because if he'd have done really well, you're sitting there laughing. But I generally probably wouldn't advise to go there now. It might be one for Tielemans owners to consider to add on to it.
And Andy Cairns with the last question of the show, James, today. He says he is ranked at 5.4K.
Yep.
Having used 3 transfers.
Oh, wow.
It's not just the relatively poor rank that's the issue. I've lost interest in the format for the second season. Help. Some sort of motivation required. The way I'm feeling, I can't energize myself, let alone you, Andy. But all I can say is you've used fewer transfers than me. Your rank
than everybody.
Is half. Yeah, true. Your rank is half of mine. And you can still win 50, and you can still win 50 grand.
He
Like,
absolutely
if someone
could.
said to me 5.4k, I've only used 3 transfers, can I win it? The answer is yes. So
Yeah.
I don't know, 50 grand's like quite a bit of motivation, Andy. I don't know if,
Absolutely. Andy,
yeah.
you're a top boy. DM me, mate. We'll have a look. But yeah,
Yes.
you can still win the game, mate. And you know what? Even if you think you can't, right? Doesn't matter. Hold some transfers back. Go into like February or something and try and slam the manager of the month or something. Go mental for it. So genuinely, I would say I'm half of Andy's rank, and I'm on 31 left. I would say Andy's got a better chance of me than winning the game.
Yeah, I agree with you on that as well. So yeah, get engaged, and it's good fun. I think once you get it and the penny drops, Andy, you're gonna enjoy playing this game a lot. And that's a wrap, James.
Brilliant, lovely stuff.
Yeah, appreciate you holding the show together. I really am here for the ride today. Next week,
you did fine, mate.
Next week we'll be back to business, I'm hoping, and we'll be planning for the next weekend set of fixtures, as well as looking at some of the stats, as James mentioned, doing a bit of a deeper dive into tiering, which, as we mentioned today, is so important in this game.
That's all for now, folks. Tomorrow's Clash of the Correspondents is Wolves versus West Ham with Bradley Parker and Chris Stone.
Lovely, jubbly. I bet Chris is in great spirits.
So, I've already recorded it. Sure Chris said you're gonna win a leg.
Oh yeah, of course we are.
Then he laughed and he said, "No, not really. I think we'll finish second."
And on that bombshell, thank you for listening to today's show. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you are listening to the podcast, on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, etc. And if you want to know more about Planet FPL, support the show and get additional content, head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. There's plenty of gump there for you to read. Just leaves me to say, stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week. Take a break because there is a lot of football coming soon. Cue music, please, man.
And happy birthday, Harry. Your little
cheers, mate.
What's he? 3?
His little man's 3rd birthday today. Yeah.
3.
Thank you very much, mate.
Wow. Nice.
I'm glad you didn't forget my son's birthday like I forgot yours.
Well, you did put a tweet out in the morning saying it's someone's birthday.
Yes,
my
I was more helpful. I didn't have to read someone else's tweet. I could have read yours.
I was so close to jumping in the comments saying, "Did you remember to wish him a happy birthday?" But
yes, I definitely did, because just to close, when he was climbing on my head this morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I said to him, "Happy birthday," and muttered, "You little shit."
Stay safe, listeners. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Cue music, please, man, child.